Hello there. Hope you're all having a good time, wherever you are. Hope you have enough food and water and a nice shelter. If you're able to watch this, I would hope that you could, but you never know. Just finishing up this hat. Been really hitting the yard work a lot more. It's been wonderful. Getting my hands nice and dirty. Playing. I see it as I'm playing in the dirt, whereas other people see it as I'm working. But I really enjoy it. I think it's just, and the end result, when you get done building a garden for somebody, you get to sit there and watch them eat it. And you get to eat some of it. The funny part is out of the so many times that I've gardened, so many years now that I've done it, this will be year 7, and I guarantee I've given away more than I've consumed or canned or kept for the immediate family. It's funny, they produce so much that with a little small area, you could probably grow at least 2 vegetables. If you had a 10 by 10 garden, you could probably grow 2 vegetables, enough of them to last you a whole year. Not so much corn, it takes up some room, but like green beans and maybe potatoes, you can grow a lot of that stuff. And it doesn't have to be a huge area either. You get the pole beans and you just have them wrap up and climb up stuff. They'll keep going up. They're like Jack and the Beanstalk. They'll climb until they can't climb anymore. But yes, just started playing. I got lenses out and lasers and stuff like that. It's been had some new ideas on how things might work pertaining to this place we live. It's been a good week. Last week was. It was a real good week. Decided I'm going to start redoing a lot of old experiments. Observations, demonstrations. Mostly to do with optics, things like that. Other people's observations that they've made. Just ones that, we've been at this for a while now. It's going on 4 years for some of us. And stuff that we made 2 years ago, it doesn't really, unless people are sharing it, this and that, a lot of your videos they're just getting lost in the history of it all. If they're even being shown in see, I don't tag any of my videos or anything like that. I never have. I just make them with a cell phone and throw them up there. Hey, Speedway, Indiana. I'm not sure I know exactly where that is, but how's the weather up there? I'm down in Florida right now, and it is beautiful. I'm working on getting the garden ready here right now. It's great. Speedway, Indiana. I don't know if I've been through there or not. I'm from Indiana though. Um, I'm from Hobart, Indiana, up there in Lake County. Then I moved out to Stark County to North Judson, Indiana. Stark County had a total of 3 stoplights. I loved living there. I'm not sure if I know where Speedway is. But no, with a real small area, you can grow a lot of vegetables. One year, I mean, I had quite a few pickle plants. I think I had 21 or 22 maybe. Okay. Actually, I have been there. I never went to a race, but I've been to the park, and then I've also been to Indianapolis Raceway Park. Met Kenny Schrader back in the day. That was pretty cool. He was always one of my favorite drivers. It's amazing, some of those cars and what they can do. Just blows my mind. Yeah, it's going to be up in the 70s again here today. I love that. I love doing yard work the end of December. And gonna get ready to plant potatoes and onions, and I don't know if they want carrots or not. But gonna get ready to start planting all that kind of stuff. Gonna plant garlic. Get them a nice little garlic patch. I don't know if golden seal grows around here. I'd like to try it though. Some spearmint, peppermint. I think they'll grow around here. Not 100. I really need to speak to a gardener. Somebody who gardens around here. Vegetable and fruit garden. See when I should plant stuff. So that's what I did all week, was work out there in the garden, get the yard cleaned up. I got all the old leaves raked up out of the yard. There's just trees everywhere. It's beautiful. And some of the leaves are good for using as like a compost filler feed type thing. A lot of people up north would rake up their, when I lived in the city there in Hobart, well, the suburb, people had yards and stuff and lots of trees, and they would rake up their leaves to the edge of the street and put them in bags or wait for the, they had a thing that would come by and suck them all up. And it wasn't illegal to burn your leaves. We were always taught to burn the leaves. And then you can just spread the ashes right back onto the ground. What I do is I take the ashes and I spread them over the gardens now. And then I spread them a little bit back over the ground. But the garden gets most of it. Compost pile gets a bunch of it. When you burn your leaves, you're pretty much burning off the impurities. And if you can get that fine white powder, that's the good stuff right there. That's the salts that make up pretty much the matrix the things that hold all the oils and the alcohols and the waters and all those little things that go away once you burn stuff. It's like purification by fire, kind of. It's a process in alchemy. Um, and that's what you're doing. You're purifying the salts. You're trying to get nice white, dusty, I don't know, embers. So yeah, it's been a great week. Get back out and work the land a little bit. It's been, I kind of left my garden hanging there. Yeah, I've actually done a few different videos. I need to put more of these into a playlist type thing. Maybe I'll do that today. Get the playlist thing going. But yeah, I've got videos on gardening, how to get your ground ready. Yes. Yeah, there aren't many coincidences in my opinion. So if you're gonna start a garden, I actually made a video about this yesterday. But starting a garden, um, you're gonna want to dig down. I use a shovel. I do old school. Some people go get a rototiller, but you miss a lot of the stuff that way. But you want to get all the roots at least 8 inches down. Get all the roots you can get out of your area. Just go through. I go through with the shovel each time. Dig down, pick it up nice and slow, pull it back. There will be a bunch of roots down there. Grab them, pull them. And me, the way I do it, I know it sounds kind of weird, but I talk to the plants while I'm doing all this stuff. You know, I let them know because, well, everything is alive. Everything has a consciousness. That's how alchemists teach it, at least. And it just kind of resonated with me when I heard it. But the plants, the animals, it's easy to understand that they're alive and that they could have a consciousness. But there's also the minerals, the mineral realm, and it still has a consciousness, the rocks and all that kind of stuff. Trying to wrap your mind, I still have trouble grasping this concept. It's but I talk to the plants, not so much out loud, you know, but I just say it in my head. No, I'm sorry, Bubba. Hank's tired of hearing about this. But I'll just say it to him, you know, in my head, as if I'm communicating just through thoughts. And I'll tell them I apologize, you know, for trespassing. But I'm going to be using this land now, just for a little while. And none of them are going to go to waste. I'm going to use anything they choose to leave, you know. I give them the option to stay and be a part of what I'm going to create, and then one day consume therefore uniting us. That this is all just a giant process, and one day we're going to be one, or you will be one with another. I just let them know that it's going to be alright, that all that fear that they have from what I'm doing, and that this isn't the end, that there's still something else that's going to be. And I don't know if it helps the plants or not. It helps me kind of apologize for taking a life and a consciousness and altering it. And I think the land feels that too. Remember, the dirt's just as alive as the plants are. There's so much. We're going to be going and getting some horse manure here next week, early next week, to put down. It's Sunday, where that's going to be like, wow. Yeah, I'm going to have to get on the ball here today and really get some work done. We had half of one of the gardens covered a little bit, so I had to we had to move a vehicle and this and that, and now I'm getting the land ready. And then what you do, I'll take all my old leaves, you'll see in that video, but I'll take all my old leaves that I've gathered from the last year. And if you have a lot of oak trees, you got to be careful. I pull out a lot of the oak leaves to they're high in acid, which isn't really that much of my concerns. I've learned that things will grow where you put them. It's amazing. Plants are amazing, but they take a long time to break down. So I tend not to put too many leaves that are real hardy. And there's these one big giant rubber-looking leaves that fall out of these trees down here in Florida, but they don't look like they decompose quickly. So I've set them off to the side, and I'll slowly burn them. The ones that are dried out, they take a while to dry out though. They're real thick, so you don't want to put stuff like that down in your soil of your garden. But the little small leaves that break up when they dry real easy, I cover my whole garden after I get done breaking it up and pulling out all the roots. I'll cover the whole garden with those leaves right there. Then I go and get a trailer of manure, or truckload of manure, whichever, horse manure I prefer. 4 to 5 years, if you can get it, that's like gold. That's like pure gold right there. But if you don't want to get brand new, fresh. You want to be at least have been sitting for a year. Because it's real hot, they say. High in a lot of the minerals. There's certain things in there that are just because they were just produced, and there's a lot of, you want the rainwater to wash away some of that stuff. Yeah, you throw manure that's just been created by the horse, and you go throw that right on your plant or right near your plant, and it can hurt your plant. There's a lot of, you just need to let nature kind of take its course a little bit, and air it out and dry it out, and the drier the better. And I'll cover that. It's the first garden ever. I mean, the soil looks pretty good out here. There's some sandy parts where I'm gonna like double dose it, but for the most part the soil looks really good. Hey, what do you say, Josh? Hope all is well out there, cuz. Up there. Just explaining to a gentleman here how I get my ground ready. He's wanting to start a garden. But I'll cover all that, the leaves and the broken up earth that we just pulled all those roots out of. See a small truckload, what you do is you just go and knock on a horse farmer's door, really, or find somebody you know that knows somebody with a horse, or that has horses. That's your best bet. I've never had to buy manure. Um, there's so many farmers out there that are just wanting to get rid of it because it can be a nuisance. Yeah, yeah, it is, Josh. Having a garden is like printing your own money. You had a beautiful looking garden there at the beginning of the year, but I know how that goes, man. It's hard. It's a lot of work to keep up your garden and have it looking beautiful and pristine throughout the whole year. They're a lot of work. I remember you showing us your garden there that one morning. But yeah, yeah, those weeds, man. That's why I go through in the very first. That's why I was telling this guy. That's the reason right there. It's because the weeds get so bad. That's why I go through and dig down at least 8 inches and pull out all the roots to all the different types of plants. Because if you don't, then later on you're going to be pulling up weeds with big, thick roots and messing up your plants possibly. So it's like laying a foundation, pulling all those weeds out. It's so important um, to build your garden upon cleared out soil. You want it to be nothing in that soil. You want to try and keep it loose too throughout the whole season to where you go into the ground around your plants and break it up and keep it loose to where you can just stick your hand down in the soil at least, 8 inches or so. Just whoosh, and bury it. That's how you want to keep your soil so it can keep breathing nitrogen. But I'll take that manure and I'll spread it out over the leaves and over that broken up soil, and then I'll take a bucket of lime. Um, it's just limestone crushed up pretty much in a nice thin layer, a real thin layer. You can still see through it, but it's covering the ground pretty good. And you take a bucket of lime and you cover every square inch. That's important too. You want to put those nutrients back into the ground. Um, all this stuff was taught to me by older gentlemen that took pride in their gardens and doing it the old-fashioned way. So I've always done it this way, and I've had some great results. And then I'll go through with the shovel. I never use a tiller. It's always elbow grease. Um, and I'll lift up from underneath and get back down to the dirt and then turn all of that over. So you have dirt, big thing of leaves, big things of manure, and a limestone underneath right there. Yep, lime. There's a lot of stuff in limestone that's it's good to put right back into your soil, your plants, because limestone is pretty much just the salt, the matrix part of other plants. Yeah, look into it. Don't take my word for it. Definitely look into it. But yeah, I always spread lime on my garden. And I've even had years where I did it like halfway through. I put more down because I was producing so much that year. I did 212 jars of pickles, and I was giving away 5-gallon buckets of pickles like constantly at work after that. It's funny too because certain plants will have their certain years where everything is just perfect for them. And it's not just in your garden, it'll be all over the place. The year I had all those pickles, everybody who grew pickles had an overwhelming amount. And then a couple years later, everybody had way more tomatoes than normal. And that's just, I've only been doing it 6 years. This will be number 7. But that's one thing I've learned is it seems like vegetables have their years. Like there's certain seasons for maybe the weather is just right for certain ones. And they really thrive. Oh, rock and roll, man. And then, turn all that over, and then you just wait. You'd like to see it rain a couple times, preferably, before you start planting. If it doesn't, then it doesn't. If you're going to be doing potatoes, onions, garlic, anything that'll be growing under the ground, you're pretty much, they say around here, January, you can start planting them. Um, you might get a frost, which would mean you would have to cover anything if it was already growing out of the ground. I doubt the garlic or the onions would really be growing too much out of the ground, or the potatoes for that matter. But we're going to be planting those here pretty soon. And onions, I mean, you can do, onions are neat, because if you like the little small onions, then you plant them somewhat all together. You know, you'll get a line, and you can put like 2 of them and just keep boom, 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 right next to each other down a whole line. And because they don't have space to grow, they'll be a little bit smaller, and you'll have a lot more of the greens. And then if you give them room, you know, 6 inches or so, 8 inches or so, you can get the big, they take a lot of water though. Onions require a lot of water to get big like that. But they're good when they're like that. I knew a farmer up there in Indiana. Well, I knew a maintenance man who knew a farmer who did 40 acres. Was it 40 acres? No, it was 40,000 onions. And he could sell them for $1 a piece because he got them to grow so big. But he'd give them twice as much room, and he would water them for so many hours a day, just drench this ground, but the onions just soaked up the water. And each onion was at least a pound. So he'd make like 20 grand a year off that field alone. I think he said it was like 10 grand to run the water for those few months, which is really high, but farmers got to spend money to make money, and he knew how to grow those big giant onions that people loved. Yeah, that guy was neat. That maintenance man taught me a lot. He was an old farmer. Stan, really cool guy. He pretty much, because so many places, it seemed like right around 2008, everything was cut back to skeleton crews. And I was hearing this happening everywhere, in every type of industry, manufacturing, where you used to have 8 maintenance guys, you know, and you had the place running tip top. You had people just there to do certain jobs, and then they cut it back to from 8 people to 3, where you were doing just what you had to keep the place going, just to keep it running. And places have been running like this since 2008. It's sad, but he was one of the guys that they kept on. He was, you know, he knew his stuff well. And he got so fed up with them running it like that, that if he didn't have the parts to replace stuff and fix it, he'd just sit down, sit in his chair, kick back, and start taking a nap. Oh, he was great. He would start at like 3:30, and by 5 o'clock he'd be out. He had a farm and all kinds of stuff that he took care of. Was going to start his own business. Really smart guy though. He knew all kinds of stuff. But he taught me a lot about farming and ways to do things, tricks of the trade. Plant spearmint in your garden. Yeah, plant spearmint in your garden. It's great for keeping away a lot of bugs. and insects. Some nasty ones that can mess with your garden. It produces a thick oil, especially like at night. It'll when it releases a lot of its fragrances and scents. Actually, you can just, sorry about that, take your hand and run it through. Sorry about that. You take your hand and just run it over it and kind of move it around a little bit, real softly, and it'll release a bunch of fragrances. Marigolds, you can plant around the edges. The spearmint or peppermint, I'll plant right in the middle. But yeah, it's a neat thing having a garden. Um, hey, Flat World Logic, how we doing? Looks like we got company. Well, folks, I think I'm gonna get rolling. I think Nathan Oakley should be on here pretty soon. Sorry, Flat World, I got 20 minutes. Oh yeah, it was a great week. We had some rain this week. The United States. Stuff like that, but no, it was great. Got some stuff done. But I think I'm gonna get rolling here. Sorry for jumping as soon as you got on, man. But this is gonna be a short one. I got a late jump on it. I'm getting there with this one though. Maybe 2 more rings, I think. 3, I don't know, we'll have to see. It's been a while since I've done one this thick. But yeah, I crochet the hats while I'm sitting here doing these videos, and then I film it here on YouTube. All the stuff's in the description after it uploads and all that good stuff, if you'd like to purchase one. But thank you for joining me. We can talk some more gardening. $30 plus shipping. Yeah, they take about 5 hours to make. And the big thick ones like that, I usually would sell for more. But it's just a little bit more in hemp and a little bit more time. And I'm really just trying to sell them, to get rid of them. But everyone's crocheted with a lot of love and good intentions, stuff like that. And if I mess up on a stitch, I go back and fix it. I really care about the craftsmanship that I put out. All that kind of good stuff. But yeah, all the info will be in the description. Oh, I love you too, man. I love all of you. Thanks for joining me. This was a quick one. Late jump, and I just decided I'm gonna jump on there and work on the hat a little bit. But yeah, you guys have a great rest of your day. Love y'all. Yeah, I'm gonna get out there and start gardening here pretty soon. Get back into it, and remember, pull the roots. So important. And then when you're done pulling them, let them dry out and burn them. Burn the roots. And then take all the ashes from that and put it right back into your garden. So important. If you're going to start a garden, if you have enough room, start a little compost pile. 5 foot by 5 foot. Just dig some holes, get it nice and broken up and loose, throw a lot of your ashes in there, stuff like that, dead leaves and stuff like that, any kind of fruit peels, no meat, throw in your eggshells, stuff like that, coffee grounds are awesome, yeah, all that kind of stuff you can throw in there, and you'll get a nice pile. I do a poor man's compost. I don't do it to where I have a barrel that I turn and all that kind of stuff. All you're doing is digging a hole, throwing stuff in there, covering. You got to cover it back up. And once you cover it, the ground kind of just eats all that up. And the earthworms and all that kind of stuff. Worms are great to have in your garden, but pull the roots. So important. And then cover it with dry dead leaves or anything dry and dead that you can, that breaks down easy. Get some horse manure if you can. Cow manure works real well. Remember, not too fresh. You want it to be a little bit old and somewhat dried out. Then cover that, and don't forget the lime. A little thin layer of lime over the whole thing. Dig down in there, turn it, and you got a good start for a garden. And then we'll talk about what you do after that when the time comes. But yeah, everybody have a great day. I love y'all. Thanks for joining me. Good times for all signing out. As always, thanks for watching. Oh, wrong side.